Welcome back to another episode of Inside Her C-Suite. We had a special episode. We're shooting a panel discussion from Hilton in Johannesburg. This conversation is about women in tourism and hospitality leading at a very senior level. And I've got three extraordinary women from across the spectrum with me. Helen Lebone, we've got Sizakele Mzimela, and Thabani Ndlovu. Your role in HR, Helen, when it comes to Hilton in this conversation that we're having now, have you guys implemented programs to really sort of drive women in development?
You know, we just had a conference where we wanted to educate, empower, and mobilize women to take advantage of the opportunities that exist within the company. But we've got multiple programs already, leadership development programs that we have implemented that are meant to ensure that women come up the ranks. We realize that as an industry, as a company, we've got many women, but they're, you know, at lower levels. So we have been working hard to make sure that we get them up the ranks. We do a lot of programs as well around making sure that we address issues of unconscious bias, both in men and women. We have programs as well that we run around developing women and developing their self-awareness about, you know, their level of confidence, their readiness to take advantage of the opportunities that are brought in front of them.
Awesome, thank you so much. Siza, your work in sort of the airline industry as sort of a founder of Blue Fly Cream, you know, being able to move people around, what are some of the observations you've made in terms of women in leadership, some opportunities, some thoughts around getting to the point where you can actually lead?
Well, actually, earlier on, in the conference, because I had actually been asked to come through, as a speaker, what I was actually sharing is that, for me, from an observation perspective, is that possibly we as women sometimes are the ones who hold ourselves back in terms of being able to fully benefit from any of the opportunities that Helen was actually describing already here. And that essentially, maybe that's what we need to be talking about a lot more. Just to say, look, we need to be courageous enough, to actually take the risk of trying out something new, and that's the only way that's actually going to help us, to be able to move forward, if anything.
But risk is scary. You've taken some big risk in your career, and I'm sure people around you are questioning it. How do you deal with the social pressure? Because taking a risk yourself is one thing, but then your family looking at you like, are you crazy? Yeah. You're going to leave this position? You're going to make this kind of move? How do you deal with the social challenges?
It is difficult. I would be lying if I said, it was actually easy. But I guess, the first thing is just, firstly, self-belief. Complete self-belief and the belief in what is that you are doing. And for me, I always, in anything that I've done, I've always said it's much more than just about me as Caesar. So I think that actually helps as well, that when people are basically saying, are you crazy? I then I'm able to actually respond and saying, yes, I have to be crazy because it's not about me only, but it's also about those people who have to follow me. And whatever happens, if it succeeds, great. If it fails, hey, I also would have demonstrated that I tried. Because I guess that's the challenge. I think in the world now, and especially for us as women, we are always so worried about failure, and we take it too personal. And we think it's personal failure. It's not. Anybody who's ever done anything great has had to fall a couple of times before they're able to succeed. And I guess that's something that we have to find a way to communicate a lot more. And I think from a tourism perspective, in terms of opportunities, I really do believe, that there are huge opportunities that exist, for women. We are naturally born to provide, whatever, makes, could make us, as a country in whatever a space of tourism stand out against anybody else here.
Thabani, you are a true story. Your story is so inspiring, and you got a beautiful smile. You started from the bottom, literally, and in terms of at Hilton, yes, correct. And your role from Hilton and up to GM. Were there moments when you wanted to quit, and what did you do to keep pressing forward?
Well, there were moments. I remember there was one time when I was based back in London, and I was I felt so much under pressure, probably some pressures put on by myself, and I'd cry every morning before going to work, and my husband would look at me and think, when she comes home today, she's going to be like, I've moved jobs. This is it. I'm not doing this anymore. But ultimately, I see the bigger picture, and I said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I took on the positives, and I pretty much sieved out all the negativity that I thought was there to block me, and I took out the positives and used that as an opportunity to grow.
Now, I want you to imagine these two young ladies, they are in their late teens, they're 19 years old. Talk to them about what they can do to get to your level. Just look at them, inspire them quickly. One or two things that they can do and they'd be thinking about right now to get to your level.
Well, one thing for sure is be humble and open yourself to learn, because that just, don't pretend you know. And there is nothing wrong with starting from the bottom, because you appreciate the industry a lot more. And in tourism, I found that I grow more because I know what it is like to be a waitress. I know what it's like to be in the reception. Sometimes when I have my own VIP guests and they're probably high-level ministers, I'm down with banqueting going, guys, this is how you do this. So sometimes as teenagers, as the post-millennials, as you call it, you want to start as a manager. It doesn't always work that way. It's about appreciating what your job is from the bottom and then taking it from there. It actually makes you more proud because you're part of the work that's been put forward for your clients.
So guys, ladies, don't give up.
Absolutely not.
Helen, the future, I mean, after this extraordinary conference you guys have had, you've had speakers, you had men, women. Do you feel like it's important to have a holistic conversation around this, women, to include men, to include different types of a conversation around wellness? I mean, what's the importance of having a holistic conversation around women's leadership?
So for us, when we were planning the conference, it was important to have men. Because, whether we like it or not, whether it be in Hilton or, many other companies, men still hold many of the senior positions within the company. They are still in positions of influence in many of our companies. So it was important for us to include people like, the Vice President of Operations for Africa and Indian Ocean, who has been a big sponsor for us in this whole, agenda of talking about women in leadership. It was important for us to include, another, sponsor and leader for us, the Senior Vice President of HR, all the way from the UK, who looks after Europe, Middle East and Africa, to come and be part of this conference. And I've received so much feedback from the ladies saying, Helen, we knew that this was important, but we did not understand how important it is for the company. And so for the ladies to hear how globally this is a big issue and how important, even all the way up to our CEO, Chris Naseta, this agenda of diversity, this agenda of women, achieving positions of leadership is important. It really changes the dynamic. I mean, from the feedback I received, the ladies now realize that it is now up to them. The way has been paved. We expecting that they will come out of this conference and do what has been said by so many speakers, that dream big, raise your hand. But not only that, and even Caesar in her presentation and many other speakers, the Deputy Minister of Tourism and the other speakers, they said, you should not only just raise your hand, but once you've raised your hand, you must deliver. Because that is what is going to differentiate you. That is what we know many of the men that have reached their high positions do. They work and they work very hard. So that's what we're hoping, that they will take that and go and multiply what they have learned. Because for me in particular, it's not only about the women who attended the conference from the different hotels that we have in Africa and Indian Ocean. It's about how they go back to their hotels and multiply what they have learned.
And I really appreciate the conversation around really driving women at a senior level, because if you look at the McKinsey report around Women Matter, one of the glaring things is that women at a very senior level, people are struggling to crack that last sort of glass ceiling, which sees that you sort of cracked it on your own and said, I'm going to go there and I'm going to start my own thing. In terms of starting something that's at a very senior level, what is a couple sort of tips that you need to have in mind in terms of whether it's around funding, around networking, or around sort of being at that sort of senior level where you start something or you are CEO?
Well, I think, I mean, the first thing, I mean, for me, and probably to some extent it was a question that was also raised, I mean, earlier on, is that it's about, you're starting it at a senior level, so you do have an advantage in the sense that you now talking about something that you understand, and you understand pretty well. If anything, if I think about myself, for example, having run a very big organization in the very space that I've started, you know, I mean, this airline, it's probably about scaling back from big to small. The difference, though, is starting it from ground zero. And of course, I mean, it's a totally a different learning curve, no matter how much, I mean, experience, I mean, one may have. And it's appreciating, I mean, for the first time as to why possibly it's been so difficult, you know, for people to start their own, you know, entities, simply because, yes, we may understand what needs to be done, but there's still challenges in terms of access, I mean, to capital. There's still, yeah, exactly, serious challenges in terms of access, I mean, to capital. There's still the challenges that you're starting something new, something new with somebody else has never done, I mean, before, in this case, obviously a woman. So even when you go to the institutions that ordinarily would support such initiatives, you know, there's also already that immediate, are you sure you should be doing this? Because it's unfamiliar, okay? I don't think, though, I mean, that it's something that should, you know, stop one. If anything, I mean, for me, I always look at it and say the value is that the next woman who comes and knocks at the door for the capital, at least they will be now familiar with the woman knocking at their door for capital, you know. So there's always, you know, positive in whatever, I mean, a difficult situation. But yes, it's a learning curve. It's exciting in the sense as well that you do it, I mean, you do it from a perspective of saying, I've always wanted to do this in this way, and you have the opportunity to do it right, you know, I mean, from the, and bring your own
flair.
Feel, exactly,
awesome.
you know, to it.
Thabani, lastly, tell us the future. Are you going to like, do you plan to be CEO? I mean, tell us, what do you have in mind for the next few years of your career?
Next few years or in the future? Well, ultimately, I think I would probably like to follow Caesar's footsteps. I do want to run my own hotel. It's actually a dream of mine, and I think the few skills that I've learned now will probably be something that we would work towards doing so. So I might even brand it as a Hilton.
Guys, thanks for leading and thriving and doing such an extraordinary job in the tourism and hospitality space. I really appreciate you joining us on Inside Our C-Suite.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Join us next week as we go inside of the C-suite of more extraordinary women across this extraordinary continent and have conversation that we publish and share the insights from in our work. We'll be back next week.